Hi, this is Joe Chambers. Welcome to Musicians Hall of Fame Backstage. Today's guest is the great James Burton. This will be part one of two parts, as James also has too much to say in just one show. A lot of people remember James from being on the Ozzie and Harriet show and backing up Ricky Nelson. He played on what many consider to be the first video with I'm a Traveling Man. Later, I think probably most people remember James as playing with Elvis Presley from 1969 until Elvis passed away. So when we come back, the great James Burton. Welcome back to Musicians Hall of Fame Backstage. Today's guest is the great James Burton. James, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Joe.
So, we're not just meeting. This is kind of like a reunion of old friends now. And we were just talking about the first time that we did meet. Now, I got to tell you, in my mind, I was walking across Broadway, and we stopped in the middle of the road, and somebody introduced us or something. And I was getting ready to open up.
We almost got run over.
I don't know about that, but it was during NAMM that was here,
Yeah.
and I was telling you that that Chet was coming over to do my grand opening for me, and you said I'll come, and that's as early as I can remember us meeting. So I don't know what your thoughts on that, but you came to the house.
But I remember Joe Chambers writing some great songs and some great artists that I liked.
Well, thank you. And so, I asked your friend Steve Cropper, I said, why did you pick a Telecaster? And there's not very many other people that I would ask that question, but definitely have to ask you the same question. And people seem to want to know, why did you pick a Telecaster?
Well, for one thing, I loved the looks of it, and when I played it, I was sold. The body is so well balanced, and the neck, the sound. The old Teles had a lot of highs. Very bright, but there's a way you could control it, tone it down, and only a three-way switch.
Yeah.
I just loved the way the guitar played, and it had a great bite. When you'd crank it up, man, and it would just pop out there, just amazing.
Do you have a certain pickup configuration that you use on it, or how do you set your guitar?
Well, now the old one is much different. When I did my signature model, I started a program with Fender, the signature model, and me and Dan Smith. So I put it together. My idea is I wanted to do a 3 pickup Tele, and that was the only thing really missing for me. Other words, the Tele was the main instrument for me, and but the 3 pickup gave me a little more to deal with, tones and sounds, and a satin neck. I had a satin neck, fantastic.
What do you mean by satin?
Well, I didn't want that polyurethane sprayed on the neck, so my neck was satin.
Did it grab your?
It didn't have it was just a satin finish. It didn't have any polyurethane on the neck.
Did it grab your hand when you slid it up the neck?
Let me tell you, the more you would sweat, the faster it would get. The neck, fantastic.
So the early Teles had the nitrocellulose finish on them, and then they started in the 70s putting that thick plastic-like finish on them that kind of grabbed my hand if I'd slide it on the neck.
Yeah, it was like it would be sticky, if you went out, the humidity, different weather and everything. And, it's hard to maneuver on it. But with my new neck, the satin neck, you'll love it. It's fantastic.
The first Tele you had, the white Tele, how did that come about?
Well, I was walking by this music store in my hometown, Shreveport, Louisiana, and the music store was J&S Music, and they had this beautiful Telecaster hanging in the window, blonde. It was beautiful, and I just stood there and looked at it for 30 minutes, and I went home, told my mother about it, and so when Dad came home from work, she talked to him about it, and Dad said, well, if that's the guitar he wants, go get it for him. That's my very first Tele, and first guitar.
And you still have it,
Not
right?
my first guitar, but I still have it.
You still have it,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It recorded Suzy Q and a few Ricky Nelson records. I even played it with Elvis when we opened Las Vegas in 1969. That guitar is just amazing.
But okay, that guitar. I know a lot of people because those songs were so classic. What was your setting and what amp did you use on those like Suzy Q and the early Ricky Nelson songs?
Well, I used a little small amp, Deluxe, Fender Deluxe, and the old model, and I like the Twin. Worked good for me. The Twin mostly for live shows, but the Deluxe in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And for the Suzy Q, the settings on the guitar, sometimes I would go in between the middle setting, between that and the lead pickup, and I got a little bit out of phase sound. It's pretty interesting. As a matter of fact, I used that sound on a few Ricky Nelson records, like Traveling Man and some of the other songs. You didn't have a lot of volume. You lost a lot of volume, but you can crank the amp up and still have that sound.
What do you call the lead pickup? Do you call that the neck or the bridge?
The lead pickup is the one very far back pickup, and I call that the chrome setting, and where the strings come over the bridge.
So the bridge
back.
setting, yeah.
Yeah. So the other pickup is down by the neck, which is more of a bass, tone. But when you're in that lead pickup, it's hot, ready to go.
Where do you stay the most? Or where did you stay the most? What setting?
Well, it really depends on what I was doing. The original Tele had a lot of highs, Buck Owens and Merle Haggard and the early stuff, But I would tone it down a little bit so I could bring in more mid-range and which a little fatter notes. The too much treble, very thin. The notes are a little high, a little thin. But it depends on the song. If Buck Owens is singing, you want to use a lot of highs so you could kind of harmonize with it.
So you listen to the singer to make your sound. That's cool.
Yeah, kind of mix it.
Mm-hmm. And
But
so
you got to remember, Joe, that guitar I played on thousands of sessions, many more than that. But I got to tell you, I only had that one guitar that I played on all these records, and you can hear all these records on record. You can hear that guitar, and it's a different tone, because I just had a way of mixing the tone with the bass, kind of mid-range, and maybe changing the amp a little bit to make it fit. If you play in a Sinatra day, you don't want a Buck Owens sound,
Mm-hmm.
So I was blessed with able to do that. When I would go in the studio, I didn't have 20 guitars like most guitar players today. They even go on stage and have 20 guitars. They switch off every song. I only had one guitar. I played on everything, man. It's fantastic.
So, everybody's going to want to know, and was there a transition guitar between the white Tele and the Paisley Tele? And how did of course, we've talked about this before, but for the people watching, would you talk about the Paisley Tele and how that happened?
Oh, yeah. But the Paisley, my friend that worked for Fender called me one day and he said, man, I got a guitar here. You got to come down and see. And I said, oh, okay. So I went down, we had lunch, and walked in his office, and the guitar was over in the corner. He said, that's it. I went over and opened the case. Man, boy, it shocked me. I said, no, not for me. Maybe Van Halen, that would, And he said, no, you got to take this guitar. I took it and played it, and it played really nice. And we opened Las Vegas with Elvis in 1969. I took that guitar with me, and I was playing. But the first 2 weeks, I played my original Tele.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to take a chance of Elvis saying something on stage, you know, hey, where'd you get that guitar, man? It's a little, you know. And I took it out one night, 2 weeks into the show, and we had a whole month to play. I took it out and played it, and we did 2 shows that night, and he never said a word, right? After the second show, Red West came, the Memphis Mafia guy. Red came to me and he said, Elvis wants to see you in the dressing room. I said, oh no, here we go. I just knew he was going to come down on that guitar, you know. And he said, hey, I noticed you're playing a different guitar tonight. Man, it looks great and sounds great. And I said, yeah, I was a little worried about, you know, bringing it out on stage with you. And he said, no, man, that looks great and sounds good. Play it all you want, man. And that was it. That opened the door. And you know, I played it on Emmylou Harris's with the hot band. And I started doing a lot of sessions. I remember going in to do a Merle Haggard session. And I took it into Merle's session. Yeah, up to then, I'd been using my original Tele. And of course, he loved that guitar, the original. I went in with this pink Paisley, and he said, he walked over and he said, where's old Red? I said, you know, because it was kind of a Coronado red color. He said, where's old Red? I said, it's at home. He said, how far do you live from here?
Oh, no.
I said, oh, 5, 10 minutes. He said, you wouldn't want to go get it, would you? I said, well, if you would do me a favor, let's just try one song with this guitar. And we did, and it sounded good, and so he was okay. But that was a little strange, you know. He wanted the red, but you know.
Oh, wait a minute. You said red. I thought the original was white. Or was there one in the middle?
The original was white, but I painted it 3 or 4 times.
Oh, okay.
So I had it painted. It was a Coronado red, and but the guitar just had amazing sound. That old Red, you know.
Yeah.
But when I brought the pink Paisley out, Merle said, where's the old Red guitar? I said, oh, okay, it's at home.
Well, I'm sure he was so used to all those great sounds that he was afraid it might, you know, change his thing. But, yeah.
But, you know, a lot of the sounds in the fingers, and I played an old Silvertone one time. It didn't sound like me.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's something about different guitars that do have a lot of different sounds. But when you pick a guitar up, for me, when I pick it up and play it, I know the guitar sounds different, but it's something to do with the fingers, how you, I don't know, it's just something in the fingers that bring the tone out with the guitar or something. For me, I don't know.
Well, I know what you mean. It's the player, you know. There's a funny story about Chet. This guy kept telling Chet, man, what kind of guitar is that you're playing? That's a great guitar, you know, just kept on and on and on about it. Till Chet set it in the stand and went, how's it sound now? You know, so it's the player, obviously.
Yeah.
And, you know, we got a guitar that was one of Glenn Campbell's guitars. And I was sitting around playing it.
Is that the Ovation?
No, it was before that. It was a little Mozarite acoustic that he played on the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, and then when he had his own show, he played it on the first few shows of that. And you can tell it because there was a crack they had to fix in it, and you could see where they fixed it on camera.
Yeah.
And so it was the first 4 or 5 shows that they used it on. And I was sitting around and playing it, and I was like, man, this guitar sounds like, you know, bad. And then I found some video of Glenn playing it, and I went, it's not the guitar, it was me, you know, or Glenn could just make anything sound great, you know. And I saw so many pictures of him where he was playing a little Japanese import electric.
And that was the first one that when I met him, he was playing a Japanese guitar. It sounded great.
Well, it had a hole carved in the headstock, right?
Yeah.
And then it had a pistol grip in the body as well. It was before Vi had the Ibanez, you know, guitars. So anyway, the player is everything, you know. I mean, and you're such an influence on so many people. Who influenced you to play? Was there somebody that you listened to before you started playing?
Well, when I started playing, Joe, Mother said that I would listen to the radio day in, day out, the country music station. And I loved all those Ernest Tubb records of George Jones. I mean, just amazing music, Hank Williams Sr., you know. And man, these guys were my heroes. And of course, Chet was my hero, you know, guitar. Merle Travis, Les Paul, and even a guy named Billy Bird, who also played with Ernest Tubb. A great player. And I loved all that, man. I loved all that. I wanted to play like Chet. Well, the closest I could get was with a flat pick and a finger pick and playing that style, you know. But I woke up one day and I said, and I'm playing Merle Travis, I'm playing Chet and mixing it up a little bit, you know. And I said, you know, there's only one Chet, there's one Les Paul and one Merle Travis, and I can't be them. I've got to do my own thing. But I tried, I remember trying, because I knew Chet used a thumb pick, and I tried the thumb pick one time, and not knowing, because when you get excited, you start playing double stops, you know, and picking up and down, and all of a sudden, there goes the pick, you know, and I said, wait a minute, I can't deal with that. So I went to a flat pick and a finger pick. And the reason I started using a finger pick is because when I wrote this little instrumental, I was playing it with just my finger, you know, no pick. Mm-hmm. And I had to, with the flat pick. And I couldn't get the bite. I couldn't get that bite off the string I wanted. So I said, because I was playing like slide dobro, slide steel, and I would use the picks for that. And I noticed that the finger pick the string would just pop out at you, just real bright. And I tried that on my Tele with the finger pick, and that was it, Suzy Q. Mm. And I was working with his blues band, Dale Hawkins, and I wrote the music, Dale wrote the lyrics, and the rest is history.
Hey, when we come back, we're going to talk about Suzy Q for just a second, and so just stay tuned.
The Musicians Hall of Fame and Museum has been celebrating the men and women who make the music of our lives since 2006. The Musicians Hall of Fame is the one and only museum in the world that honors the talented musicians who played on the greatest recordings of all time.
It's a music city, huh? It's, I mean, where else are you going to get the cats, all the cats that are in this room?
The Grammy Museum Gallery at the Musicians Hall of Fame is an interactive facility that allows guests to explore the process of making a recording. Take drum lessons with Ringo Starr. Sing on stage with Ray Charles. Write a song with Desmond Child. Rap with Nelly. Or be Garth Brooks in our recording studio experience. Located in the heart of downtown Nashville, in the first floor of the historic Nashville Municipal Auditorium. Come see what you've heard at the Musicians Hall of Fame and Museum. Dream Events and Catering is Nashville's leading full-service event and catering company. Grounded in exceptional customer service, creative expertise, and dreaming big, we imagine your next event as memorable, meaningful, and delicious.
Welcome back to Musicians Hall of Fame Backstage with James Burton. You wrote Suzy Q, you're 14 years old, but they didn't put your name on as a writer.
Well, I was 15 years old when we actually recorded it in KWKH radio station downtown up on the 4th floor. I remember that. Dale and I got stuck on the elevator going up, so they had to pull us out of the elevator. Anyway, we recorded that. I wrote the music and Dale wrote the lyrics, and his manager took over and seemed to take care of everything. And when the record came out, it said Hawkins, Lewis, and Broadwater. 3 names on the record. but it only should have been 2 names,
Right.
Hawkins and Burton. But I didn't know anything. You know, I'm a guitar player. I was 14, 15 years old. I didn't know the other part of the business, you know.
Well, didn't later in life, before he passed away, didn't he kind of let you know that he knew that was wrong or something and shouldn't have happened? Or?
Well, no, the guy Stan Lewis, who recently passed away, he's the one that had copyrighted it and did everything. And basically, but everybody knows that I wrote it, you know,
Yeah.
Dale and I. So
Still would have been
John
nice to
Fogerty
get.
recorded it, you know, John Fogerty, Credence,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
everybody knew I wrote it, and Dale. So, you know, there's still a chance of getting a copyright back, you know.
Well, it would have been nice to have made a little money. I'm sure you could have used it. At
Yeah,
some
well,
time.
they say they can go back a few years. I don't know how far, but, you know, it's still popular today. Every place you go, everybody wants to hear SusieQ.
Right. Yeah.
And they even use it for a lot of jingles, commercials.
So, you know, people are always going to want to know about Elvis. Is there, did you met him like in '69? Is that right?
69. Well, he called me for the 68 comeback special, but I was doing an album with Frank Sinatra, and I was not available. But anyway, in 1969, he called me, and we talked on the phone for 2 or 3 hours, and it was amazing. He opened up, he said, you know, Elvis and Ricky were good friends. They played football and softball together. And so Elvis said, you know, I watch the Oz and Harriet TV show. I watch you play guitar and Ricky sing, and that's my favorite show. I watch it every week. And I said, wow, king of rock and roll watching me on TV. But Elvis was, you know, when he called me and we're talking to each other on the phone, it's like we had known each other our whole lives, you know, because our background in music is pretty much the same, gospel, you know, a little bluegrass and folk and, of course, country music. And a great story was I was working with a guy named Bob Luman, and we had the same 3-piece that Elvis had, you know, guitar and stand-up bass. As a matter of fact, we were playing a club one night, Scotty, DJ, and Bill Black, they came in, and Bob said, hey, you guys come sit in and play with us. So they brought the instruments in, and we were playing, and Scotty was just plugged into a regular amp. And so every time we get to the solo, we're doing all the Elvis songs, and Scotty would look at me, take it. And I'm playing all the solos, and I said, wait a minute, this guy played on these records, and he's not doing it. But anyway, after we took a little break, Scotty went out to the car and brought in his amp, and he plugged it in, and he hit one note, and it went, young, 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 young. I said, so that's how you do it. I was doing Mystery Train, you know, that little rhythm thing on it. I was doing it with my hands. And it was almost identical to what he was doing with the Echo Plex still.
Yeah.
But it was pretty interesting. Anyway, then once he got his amp in, he started playing solos.
Oh yeah. And, you know, I mean, you have that sound. It's like Dwayne Eddy. There's a sound that he has, and he has to have that amp in order to have it.
To get that big,
yeah,
that low sound, yeah. You know the very first fuzz tone sound?
You know, a long time ago, I was doing an interview with Neil Young, and he brought this up. I'll see if you have the same story. What's yours?
Okay. Marty Robbins was recording a song called Don't Worry About Me, Don't Worry About Me, and it was so cool, man, when I heard this record, and the guitar had that real deep fuzz tone sound, you know, funky. And you know how that happened? The amp, I believe it was Grady Martin playing guitar, and that amp just kind of went crazy and started, you know, getting that crazy sound. And the producer kind of liked it, you know, and he said, hey man, you think we could record with that? there was a low volume, but I guess that's what they used on the record. And the word was, that was the very first fuzz tone sound.
Yeah, that's exactly what Neil said.
Yeah,
He
that
said
was
that he had heard the tube, had dropped a tube, it went bad,
Yeah.
and started making that noise. But yeah, and it's wild how things happen like that.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
amazing.
So you did the whole. How many years did you do Vegas with Elvis? And did you do anywhere?
I worked with Elvis 9 years, and we played Vegas pretty much every year, twice a year. We'd go and do 10 weeks. We'd go in a week early to rehearse with the orchestra, and then we'd do 2 shows a night, 8 nights a week. No nights off, non-stop, for 4 weeks solid. And then up to like maybe 76, going into 77, we started doing 1 show a night. Would be like they would rotate like maybe a dinner show and the late show. Sometimes we would do 3 shows a night because Elvis wanted to do a 3rd show for the, I guess the employees, the workers, because they couldn't go see the show.
Oh, like a real late
So
show.
yeah, like at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was up all night anyway, right?
Oh yeah. And then after we did the 3rd show, we'd go upstairs up to his suite, and he would sing gospel all night. But
What was that like?
No, it was fun. It was fun. I'd play guitar, and then Glenn D or somebody would play piano. And Elvis loved it. J.D. Sumner and the Stamps and the Imperials, and it was fun stuff.
What was touring like with Elvis?
Oh, it was great. We had 3 planes flying. Colonel Parker would go a day ahead of us and check out the venue and everything. Then we would, normally we would fly in before Elvis and go in, get set up and everything, and maybe a sound check. We didn't really do much of a sound check. We had the same guys all the time, and I only did tweak maybe during the show, tweak it a little bit. But it was really easy. Then Elvis would fly in, get out of the plane, come in, do the show. And after the show, he's in the limo back to the plane.
So when he left, he truly did leave the building every time. You guys didn't hang.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has left the building. And you know who did that, started that? When I was playing Louisiana Hayride with Bob Luman, the MC, Horace Logan, and there was another guy, Frank Page. Horace Logan was the guy that introduced Elvis that night. And after the show, Elvis did maybe 2 or 3 songs, and after that, he's off the stage, down the stairs, into the limo. And the crowd's going crazy. And Frank Page said, Horace, you need to go out and tell the folks something because, they're going to tear this place down. And so Horace walked out there, and he walked up to the mic, and he said, ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has left the building.
And then they started doing it from then on.
Well, yeah, we had a guy that would go out with us. He was like he kind of reminded me of an old circus guy, kind of like Colonel Parker, But he would go out, and after every show, he'd walk up to Mike and say, ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has left the building.
Well, once again, thank you so much for coming. You're one of my best friends. I love you to death. And thanks for watching Musicians Hall of Fame.